Hello everybody, ProtoFox here, coming back at you with another video. Age of the Primes is out and people are putting up reviews for Age of the Primes. I actually put up an Age of the Primes review up myself, one that I was super excited for, and then it kind of just fell on its face because of the algorithm. But come see, come saw, you know, sirrah, 'tis such as life. So we're going back into Legacy, right? Well, yeah, we are. This is one I've been meaning to film and get ready. But I just haven't gotten around to it, and I'm getting around to it now, and then it'll get, you know, when it gets posted up and all that good stuff. Today, we will be looking at another very highly anticipated figure for me, because for as much love as I have for Generation 2 as far as Transformers go, I have an equal amount of love for the Unicron trilogy, particularly Armada. And I've told numerous stories about me getting back into collecting, and I actually started with RID-01, and I'm still gonna work to put out a massive RID-01 love letter video with the vast majority of that collection, and I'm even gonna talk about Universe 03 and stuff like that. It all ties in together, but that stretch of time between 01 and 03 for me was probably the most nostalgic, next to like Generation 1 and Generation 2 in collecting. That and he's just not sitting in the center, but anyway, just the most nostalgic for me, because it's when I got back in, you know, next to Generation 1, Generation 2, because that's when I was really big into Transformers. Obviously I was younger, I was a kid and early preteen, stuff like that, but then I got back into it, and Armada, just, you know, in particular, you know, yeah, the show was goofy, gotta catch them all, you know, Pokemon style anime, whatever, but I loved it, you know, whatever. But the toys were awesome, and yeah, they weren't as complex as RID-01, but they were toys. They had fun gimmicks. Some of them didn't land, other ones did, but I on a whole, I loved Armada. And so when we get love for the Unicron trilogy in you know, the Generations toy lines, I'm going to be all about it. And here we are in another figure, throwback to Armada. This is actually Transformers Legacy United Armada Universe Wheeljack. Let's get a look at the packaging first as he's spinning. We got Wheeljack. We've got a really sweet render of Wheeljack. I love it. Armada Wheeljack. You know, the mural. We got product shots, 16 steps. We'll see about that. Transformers 40th anniversary, stuff that's upside down, authentic Generations stuff. Good. Boom. It for the box. Let's look at the toy. And as many of you already know and have seen, whatever, you know, a bunch of reviews of this guy have been up already, but I'm adding to it. This is a slight retool, redeco of the Earthrise Sideswipe mold, which was actually really off-the-wall throwback to the original Shattered Glass Sideswipe, who was a redeco of the Armada Wheeljack toy. And this one here is actually done in his Japanese anime colors, because he's got the teal striping. And well, you can probably see it better here because I do have his accessories attached. But yeah, he's got all the teal striping as opposed to the yellow striping. And let's get a look at the detailing here. Obviously, we got the painted rims, black car. We've got all of that. Now, this is probably my favorite touch of the figure and the best, you know, throwback to Armada Wheeljack. We got the slashed out Autobot symbol with the tiny Decepticon symbol, which, so I've heard some people complain about, but it is accurate, because we'll go ahead and get the original toy out. And now, obviously, the new Legacy toy is not one-to-one as far as car mode and, you know, whatnot, but deco, and again, the deco is based on the Micron Legend Takara version as opposed to the United States Hasbro version. But as you can see, all the hints are there. You know, slashed out Autobot symbol. We got the small Decepticon symbol there. The stripes are where they need to be. Obviously, this doesn't have a rear spoiler. It'd be cool if it did, but it doesn't need it because it's a different car mode. It doesn't come with a Minicon accessory. And they initially, use this mold for shattered glass side swipe, much like the redeco of this guy here is a redeco, or not this guy, the original shattered glass side swipe is a redeco of this guy here. But, you know, the way it all works, it ended up being, it's definitely a cool nod, throwback, all that kind of stuff to each other in different ways, what the different things that they're doing. And as I'm going to go ahead and get some things started off camera so we can expedite things here. You can hear me transform as I'm talking, but you're looking at this beautiful car mode. Let's get this spinning around one more time here. Got that spinning. It's a very, very great looking deco. It hits all the notes it needs to. Yes, it's not one-to-one with the original Armada side swipe. Doesn't need to be, because it does what it needs to do. And I'm here for it. Again, like I said, Armada has a soft spot for me. Yes, the toys weren't all the toys weren't obviously the greatest, I guess you could say. I mean, I enjoyed them, but yeah, you could turn around and definitely say, like, yeah, coming off of Beast Wars and RID-01, there was definitely, you know, definitely a jolting change to what we got, because Armada went for more gimmicks and play value as opposed to realistic car mode, or realistic vehicle and animal modes, this, that, and the other thing, blah, 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 blah. It went for more being toys, which is what Transformers are. So I don't see what the big problem was, but some people complained back then, you know, mostly collectors. I didn't, because I was eating it all up, because I had just gotten back into collecting Transformers, and there was definitely some cool stuff. But anyway, I digress. Been yakking about that for a while. Let's go ahead and get him transformed. If you've transformed any version of Sideswipe, you don't need me to walk you through it. I'm not going to walk you through it. We're just going to go ahead and transform. We've seen this a million times. Hell, I've probably done this at least 4 or 5 times on my channel myself, because I've reviewed different versions of this mold. So we're not gonna talk through it. You know what you're doing here. But you know, it does everything the typical generation Sideswipe mold does, whether you have the Earthrise or the Legacy, because they did do the G2 deco, which is probably my favorite, unironically my favorite version of it. Now I have heard some people complain that this doesn't tab in here and it sits loose, and I mean, mine, I can feel it tab, but it's definitely easy to like pop loose, but it doesn't affect its articulation or anything like that. But there, boom, yakking away. We've got a robot mode. He looks gorgeous. Obviously, we know the generation Sideswipe mold now, so we all know about articulation and proportions, all that stuff. But let's get a look at all the detailing here, and that is a very gorgeous head sculpt, and we'll compare in a minute here. But this just it's accurate to the animation model. It's gorgeous. I love it. We got all the detailing here. Everything hits. Very clean robot mode, of course. And, of course, his accessories. He comes with, you know, now this is one that some people have complained about, because this is a Sideswipe accessory. Oh, it's not accurate, blah, 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 blah. Shh. Shh. We don't do that here. It's fine. More accessories are okay. So he gets a shoulder-mounted cannon now, but he does, in fact, come with his 2 batons. They aren't tonfas, because then they'd be slung under the arm, but yeah, so we'll call them batons or whatever. But you know, and again, accurate to the animation in the original toy, and this, that, and the other thing, blah, 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 blah. There he is. He looks amazing. I'm not going to go over articulation, because we've seen that 100,000 times, because there's been a million different uses of this mold. And I will say, though, we'll go back to that real quick, because I will say, when you use a mold as much as this has been used, you would have degradation. Things would be loose and wonky and floppy. It's not. It's not at all. Everything feels good and tight still. All the joints feel great. So, leg joints even, you know, and nothing feels horrible or loose or anything like that. So, we got Wheeljack. Boom. There he is in his robot mode. And let's go with first the obvious comparison of his I'm trying to put something on the original. But the comparison with the original. Now, again, not one-to-one, but close enough in an updated representation of the toy, of the character. But, you know, you're still hitting all the stuff he needs to hit. You know, he's got the white forearms. The one thing I do wish he would have had that the original toy had was a Decepticon symbol tampoed here or whatever, but you couldn't do it because you had the 5mm port, the set and everything. But things are where they're supposed to be. I mean, he's got the wheels end up where the shoulders are. You know, i.e. he's got the black shoulders here as opposed to, you know, white, so that you get some color break because obviously you got the white elbows and forearms. But everything fits. And then you know, looking at the head sculpts, yes, this is definitely more accurate to the animation model, but I mean, they're still, I mean, they're there. It's, you know, it's hitting every single note, you know, and the sculpting matches the sculpting on the original. Very close. He's a bit, this one's a bit short, stubbier, I guess you would say, shorter. This one's a bit more accurate to the animation because he was a bit taller, a bit leaner looking in the face. But, you know, 2002 toy compared to a 2024, yeah, this is 2024 toy. So that's that, all the original, and you can definitely tell time was not kind to my Wheeljack, some scuffs here and there, and I didn't play with this toy. He just, you know, many moves. He's got some scuff, but that's actually actual paint. So you got the plastic here and then paint, which is similar to this new toy because this is actually paint, and you can feel, you know, I'm touching it on camera telling you can feel it like you can actually feel it. You can feel it. But no, it's actually painted, and as you can see here, there's a little, you know, little miffed line there, which doesn't bother me, whatever, you know, is what it is. But let's get some other quick little generations comparisons. And first, the one that makes the most sense is Armada Hotshot, because these two were rivals in the show. You know, Hotshot had left Wheeljack behind to, you know, left Wheeljack behind for dead. So, boom, got Armada Hotshot. And then, just because this is probably my favorite Generations toy of not only the year, but probably one of the best they've done, and that's Armada Red Alert. So that works, and they look good together. Everybody looks like the way they're supposed to, is reimagine, you know, not reimagine, yeah, maybe you would say that, like, updated reimaginings, I guess, of the original figures. So we get them all together, and they look incredible together. That's awesome. Again, that's hitting all the notes it did for me back when the original toys were released back in the day. You know, yeah, the original Hotshot was a bit wonky, but I loved him because he was goofy. But, like, these were three of my favorites from that line. So, getting these three together here and, you know, having updated representation of these great, great characters and figures from Armada is awesome. But, anywho, I'll leave it at that. Do I recommend Armada, you know, Legacy Armada Wheeljack? Yes, absolutely. It's a side swipe mold, so you can't go wrong anyway. You know what you're getting, but you're getting a new character. You're getting some really cool retooling. But this is just, I mean, this mold is just, like, absolutely perfect. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. This is, you know, the Seeker mold of the Generations line, you know, where they've constantly redecoed it and reused it. But this is good. So I definitely recommend it to you. So yeah, hell yeah, buy this toy. And with all that being said, I'll leave you all with this. Thank you for stopping in and checking out the review. If you liked it, give it a like. If you did, shoot a subscribe my way. I'd greatly appreciate that. And I will say unto you this: be kind to yourself and fellow human beings, because life is too short. So play on, and I will see you in the next video. Buy this toy.